Ready to go live. I'm such a grandfather this time of year because I get home at like 4 o'clock and it's getting dark already, and I'm like, yeah, I want to go to sleep. So I go to bed early, and then I end up getting up early. So I'm like a 80-year-old grandpa for 5 months out of the year. Which I know that's what you wanted me to talk about tonight. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Welcome to this year's annual year in review presentation. I think you know the drill by now. We'll be looking back on the year that was, recapping some of my travels over the past year, and looking ahead to some new stuff that is on the horizon in early next year. I'm going to try to do this. Hopefully, I don't know if you can hear the wind outside. It is really whipping out there right now. But we're going to do this. Hopefully, I'm not going to have any technical issues or whatever during this show. Should be okay. We should get through it. Normally, I like to do these shows by myself, solo. I think that's generally what I've done over the years. But this year, I thought I would do something a little different, and I would bring a lucky winner of the a lucky grand prize winner, I guess you could say. And that lucky individual this year is Laura. Hello, Laura.
Hooray! Hi, Dan. Hi, everyone.
I know you're back again, right?
I know. I got to keep the streak alive.
Yeah. Well, this makes four.
Yeah.
4 for 4.
Four for four.
And we know you're having us over next week, so that'll be 5 for 5.
That's right.
Yep. All right.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Looking forward to that. Always love taking the show on the road.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we started doing that last year and worked out again, to plan to do it again this year.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so before we dive into the actual review part, let's talk about what I'm doing on the channel currently. This week I started uploading the freeways of the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. That'll be going on through the first week of January, I think. So you'll have daily videos between now and then featuring northeastern Oklahoma. Included in that will be the turnpike system of eastern Oklahoma, and eventually you'll have all the turnpikes from Oklahoma on the channel by, say, the middle of February. Not including the one that I didn't do back in September, which is the Chickasaw, but I might get around to doing that one before too much longer. We'll have to see what happens. So that's what's going on the channel. Gribble Nation-wise, I can tell you that we have a new podcast episode. Doug did a summary of his trip out to Virginia back in, I guess that was about a month and a half ago, something like that. He was out in the mountainous section of Virginia, out in the Front Royal to Roanoke corridor, I think, mainly. So he's got some stuff to tell you about that part of the Commonwealth. So that's new on the so that's new on the podcast for you to check out as well. As for other things as well, we continue to update the blog on a regular basis. I think that Tom has gotten to the point now where he's got content on just about every stretch of old US 99 in California on the blog. And I know Doug has some stuff from old US 99 in Oregon and Washington that he's waiting to put together. So it might not be too big of a stretch for us to have documented, blog articles on the whole of US 99. That would be something that would be really cool to put together. So we'll see if we can put that together in the new year. But we're already most of the way there, I think. So that's something to look forward to next year.
Hmm.
I'm sipping my coffee right now because I'm trying to stay awake.
You
Like I
great
said,
on you.
it's only 6 o'clock, but I want to fall asleep right now.
I
Okay.
love that you put all the doughies on the slide.
I know, wasn't that clever?
Yes.
Well, it's our newest fan club, right? There they are.
There they are.
So I think that you and I own roughly half of the collection each. So
Yes,
I think we've got what 11 between the two of us.
we do. We're making our way to 101.
But you know what? At this rate, we're gonna get there pretty soon. I think we
Yeah.
just keep finding new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a certain 3.5-year-old really loves them, so that's why we've
Right.
been accumulating them.
That's right.
It's not because you and I like them, although I do think they're cute, but
I think they're adorable.
they are. I'm not gonna lie, but it helps that a certain 3.5-year-old really likes them too.
That's right. God, she's 3.5. It just blows my mind. She's been growing up as this channel, keeps having new seasons.
Yeah, that's right.
Our live content started the same year she did, 2019.
Right? Yeah. If you think about it, we've been doing live shows. I think we only did the first one after she was born.
Yeah.
Yep. So really, the two are of the same age,
Yeah.
pretty much. Um. Yeah. So new content this year. Let's just go over some of these numbers here. I went to 4 meets this year. Can you believe that? There was Waterbury, which was Doug's meet in Connecticut. There was your Lynchburg meet in Virginia.
Yay, Lynchburg.
There was Jason's meet in York, Pennsylvania. And then
Yeah.
there was the Philly meet in August. That's 4. I don't think I've ever been to more than 2 in a year before.
I think this is a record for me too.
Yeah, did you go to 4 also? You went to all 4 of these, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't go to any other ones.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, I lose track, so.
I do too.
But yeah, so we went to 4. We did live simulcasts for 2 of them, the Waterbury and Lynchburg ones. The other 2, I didn't really think we needed to do it for those ones, but I did attend them, and there are pictures of them out there somewhere. We continued with more of the same webinar and virtual tour style episodes. We didn't do any online meets this year, and that's not because of lack of ideas or lack of interest. We just didn't have any time. But I do have a couple ideas in the pipeline that I'd like to do in the first quarter of the new year. So we'll see if we can come up with something for that. I'd like to get a new episode of that out there. You see the number of videos that were published in the last 365 days. That's pretty consistent with what I've been putting out the last several years. For the thing I'd like to point out is that this was the first 365-day period where we had more than 10 million views.
Wow.
Yeah, so business, I come on every year and I say the same thing every year, but I mean it, and it's that business is better now than it's ever been, and we're still doing pretty well. We're still on a bit of an upswing, so that's good. So I can't wait to see what next year's gonna bring. And then the most popular video of 2022 was the westbound Bay Bridge drive out in San Francisco. That was probably my favorite video from California that year, because I filmed it in 2019. So that was probably the one video that I enjoyed the most. That was the most fun to make. And it's a great drive too, if you've never done it. Um,
I've
so
not. It's on my list.
it absolutely should be. Um, Probably by far the what do you call it? The biggest highlight of the year for me was putting together the Philly National Meet, which was in August of this year. It was 2 days, August 20th and 21st. If you don't include the August 19th pregame party that we had, so really it encompassed parts of 3 different days, and that's a good-looking crowd right there that
Yeah.
we've got in that picture. Man, there's a lot of people in there,
A
and
lot of people.
I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to attract people from all over the country to come out and be a part of it. It was a lot of fun to put together. It was a lot of work, and it certainly was something that I was exhausted by when I was finally done with it. But um, it's great to see something like that through, and it's great to um, put something like that together and have it go so well. Um, and it just means that the hard work that you put into something like that is paid off, and that really was great.
It
Um,
was such an honor to have you give me a bit of a platform too at the Philly meet to be able to talk about Eastwick and to talk about what's going on down at the Navy Yard. And it's just, I feel just so blessed and thankful that so many people, came and, wanted to, hear, about some history and see different sites around the city, and that y'all cared what I and Dan had to say. It's really wonderful.
well, yeah, and it was you who came up with the idea for Eastwick,
Yes.
because I wasn't originally going to do that, and so I looked into it. And I'm like, well, we're going to be right there anyway, and the more I looked at it, the more I realized that there's quite a lot of interesting history there. So and it's a bit of history that's a bit off the beaten path as far as meets are concerned. Usually, you don't get into planning issues at road meets, but that was certainly something that I thought was worth exploring. And people like abandoned streets and all that jazz. So
Yeah.
I thought it was perfect, and it was a great opportunity for you to take the mic away from me, and because I don't like to talk in general. So anytime anybody can,
You don't like to talk,
yeah, well,
says the host of a show that has, weekly episodes that go upwards of 3 hours.
yeah, but that's why I have you people on the show, so that I don't have to talk the whole time.
Fair enough.
Yeah, But I like giving the mic to other people at meets. One of the things that I did, and I think I've maybe that's something that I'm gonna do on a regular basis when I host meets, is that I try to incorporate, sort of the local spin on things, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, Ian at the Wilmington meet a couple of years ago talked about Brandywine Park, and then you talked about Eastwick this year, and I would imagine I'm going to have at least one person from Western New York at the meet next year, which we'll talk about in a minute. But so I'm probably going to let that person talk for a little while about stuff. So, there's an opportunity there to really integrate people into the fold, and make this about the group. It's not really about the host. It's about the location, and it's about the things that we can talk about. And
Yeah.
so that's something that I recognized a couple of years ago, and um, I don't know. I just like presenting these things in that way. So I hope I can keep doing that.
Me too.
So that was the Saturday recap. Of course, we had the ball game at Citizens Bank Park, where I think that the people who were there kind of had a feeling that we might be watching the team that would represent the National League in the World Series, but I don't think any of us thought it was the Phillies. But that's how it goes sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
Baseball has a way of throwing a literal and figurative curveball at you every once in a while.
Yep.
And then because some of you lunatics didn't have enough after the first day, you decided to come back for a second day. So we got together again for a second day on the Sunday, and this time was more New Jersey centric. And we had the pre walk out at the Manayunk Bridge, which was fun. And there's good old Bob, our work zone traffic control agent.
Yeah, and then Rainey had her first big traumatic fall.
Yeah, I think that happened while I was photographing Bob.
I think so. Poor Rainey. Like, I would not be surprised if that ended up being like her earliest memory.
Well,
Like,
yeah, you never know what people are gonna remember, right?
Right.
So we had 2 full days, action packed. A splendid time was guaranteed for all. So looking forward to the next one.
Yes.
Which I am going to talk about in an upcoming slide here. But let's return to recapping travels from this past year. 5 new states added in 2022: Colorado, Nebraska, Montana, Minnesota, and Oklahoma. So that brings my cumulative total to 47. So I'm missing Alaska, I'm missing North Dakota, and South Dakota. Those are the last 3.
Wow. You think you're going to hit those in 2023?
I'd like to. I'd like to get it over with, you know? Well, now it's
Yeah.
kind of like, well, you're at 47, so, I mean, you might as well just do the last 3 that you're missing and get it over with.
Yeah.
So that's on the radar for next year. We'll see if I can actually get there. I think I will, though. New metro areas in 2022. These are roughly in the order that I reached them, but you have Atlanta, you have Austin and San Antonio, Texas in there, you have Denver, Colorado, you've got the Twin Cities in Minnesota. I passed around Omaha doing some other stuff. I didn't actually spend time there, but I did enter the metro somewhat. And Oklahoma City and Tulsa in Oklahoma. Other metro areas that I've revisited or updated coverage in significantly: cities like Philadelphia, which was due to the meet there, and I wanted to put together a lot more new content for the newer webinars that we did earlier this year, that were kind of like the pregame to the meet itself. Revisited Pittsburgh in early August. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit. That was all in one trip. That was really good because that was my first trip out to those cities with the drone. Or with Detroit, it was my second, but really I was there to photograph the Gordie Howe International Bridge construction. So that was in early August when I did that. And then I also visited other cities up in northern and western New York, like Syracuse. We did a show on that last week. That content came from my visit up there in the fall. And Buffalo, which has something to do with that meet that I'm going to be doing next year.
Ooh.
So real quickly, we can run through these. You see on the screen how, you can kind of get an idea of the exact highways that I covered in each of these metro areas. So if we go to, we start off in Atlanta and the state of Georgia as a whole. One of the main objectives there was to cover all the auxiliary interstates that I hadn't covered yet, which was basically all of them. So I got that accomplished, and of course the Atlanta metro area was covered in full. Plus a bunch of other nonsense as well. Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee. So Asheville, North Carolina, Knoxville, Tennessee. That's a new area of both of those states that was covered in the January trip last year.
I forgot you went to Asheville.
Yeah, so did I. Um,
I
yeah,
really like Asheville. I'd like to get back down there.
it's not bad. Even in the middle of winter, it's very pretty.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Asheville's pretty nice. So yeah, the freeways around Asheville, I-26 from Asheville to Kingsport, and actually I ended up clinching the rest of I-26 on this trip. So from upstate South Carolina all the way up to northern and eastern Tennessee. I covered on that trip. Covered some more of I-75 in eastern Tennessee. I-40 across the Appalachians and the Great Smoky Mountains. That was an interesting trip. Um, Very cool. The freeways in Knoxville were pretty cool also. Um, so now I've got all the major cities in Tennessee covered. So that's good. Um, we did so then that was January, and then in February I had a long weekend at my disposal. So I made a long weekend out in central and southern Texas. There's a lot on the screen here. This is Austin. There's not much to I-14, but it exists, and so I covered every mile of what exists as of today. Um, there's a lot on here. There's two Highway 71s on here. There's three Highway 1s. There's three different Highway 45s. There's two different Highway 130s. There's two different 290s. There's three different 183s if you include 183A. So there's a lot to unpack here. Um, Actually, I want to talk to you off air, young lady, about conceptually what we're doing with this show, because I have a couple of ideas that I want to run by people.
Okay.
Yep. So you could really make that show sparkle, I think. Anyway, the other city I took care of was San Antonio. Um, another big metro area. Another top 10 metro area in America checked off the list. All of I-37 was covered in full. So that's another mainline interstate to add to my clinched list. San Antonio was pretty quick to knock out. I was only down in that area for about a day and a half, but over a long holiday weekend, traffic wasn't too big of an issue. And then end of May, early June, I found myself out in the Rockies, centered around Denver, and I made it on this trip as far west as southwestern Utah and Zion National Park, and I made it as far north as Butte, Montana. So there was a whole lot of I-15 covered on that trip also, as well as I-70. I covered about the westernmost 500 miles of I-70. So that was a big get on that trip. The western I-76 was covered in full. Got up into southern Wyoming and did some stuff in the Cheyenne area as well. And of course, all of Denver Metro was covered on this trip. Moving right along, early July, centered around July 4th holiday weekend.
So your birthday weekend?
It is my birthday weekend. It was my birthday when I was out here in Minnesota. Another new state, another new big metro area, the Twin Cities. 35E, 35W, 94, all the big freeways in that part of Minnesota. This trip was the same one that got me out to Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska. So this was another one of those far-reaching trips. It started out in the Twin Cities and ended up as far south as Kansas City and as far west as Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yay, Nebraska!
Yeah, Nebraska. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't really do a whole heck of a lot in Omaha itself, but I did knock out these three auxiliary interstates while I was out that way. I would like to revisit Omaha, but I mean, hopefully next year. There's been a ton of construction going on, say, I-29, I-80, around the Council Bluffs, Omaha area for the last couple of years, and there's been a lot of road closures and ramp closures and all that. So I think that's finally going to wrap up early next year. So that will open up a window of opportunity for me to head out that way, which would be very nice.
Yes.
I'll talk more about the August trip that I did in a minute, but first let's do the more new territory. This was Labor Day weekend, and this was centered around Oklahoma City and Tulsa. Again, I was emphasizing auxiliary interstates here, so the 4 auxiliaries were completed. And all of the turnpikes. The Oklahoma Turnpike system was covered in full, with apologies to the Chickasaw Turnpike, all the freeways in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. This trip got me as far south as Wichita Falls, Texas, as far east as Joplin, Missouri, and as far north as Wichita, Kansas. When I go on these long weekend trips, I don't mess around.
No, you cover a ton of territory.
It's hard to keep up, Sometimes I forget where I go on these trips. Okay, so that was the September trip. Now, if we rewind a month to August, I had an extra week of vacation time to use between projects. So I decided to use that week on a trip that I was kind of thinking about doing, but I had kind of put it in the drawer because I wasn't sure when I was going to have the time to do it, and it turned out that I had the time to do it in August this year. So this trip was Detroit, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh mainly. I recovered all of the Cleveland area, which was the first time I had been in the city since 2011. I was in there briefly about 5 years ago, but I didn't really do a whole lot there at the time. So this was really the first reappraisal of the whole freeway system for my documentation purposes in over a decade. It was great to come back, and I got to add a lot more new material also. The bridges of the Cuyahoga River are of particular interest. I hadn't even been over most of them up until this trip, so I made sure to get that done and out of the way. Same thing for Pittsburgh. Of course, the other draw for this trip was, again, that this was the first trip out to these cities that I had taken with the drone. So certain landmarks in the Cleveland area, the bridges in the Pittsburgh area, I started on a photo album of the bridges over the 3 rivers, at least, in Pittsburgh. I think it's very good at this point. Maybe one more visit, one more long weekend somewhere along the way will finish out everything I want to do drone-wise in Pittsburgh. But what I've got to this point is really good. And I also covered the new extension of the 576 toll road, which of course is a hot topic among people in western Pennsylvania. And bits and pieces of the belt system, which I'm sure you could spend an entire episode just talking about the belt system if you wanted to, but I will abstain from that at this time. It's Adam Prince's favorite highways in Pittsburgh, just clinching the belt system. And I say that jokingly because from what I understand, he can't stand them. All right. So, social media platforms, just to recap. You are watching me live on YouTube, of course. You also are probably following me on Facebook and Instagram because you have nothing else to do with your life. Reminder that you can find us on Spotify with the Gribble Nation Roadcast, which I think I'm recording some stuff for that this weekend. I'm not so sure yet, but we'll have to see what happens. By the way, Laura Erica says hello, and she might be visiting at some point this weekend, so I don't know. I might not get anything done this weekend as far as podcasting
Hi,
Erica! So that's the deal with that. I know that there's a link on my channel's homepage for my Spreadshirt account where you can buy like the most awesomest Roadway Whiz gear you've ever seen.
Ooh, I want to buy Roadway Whiz gear. Where do I find this link?
I have it. It's on my if you go to my homepage, if you go to the channel homepage, you know what? I'm gonna try to stand by. I'm gonna try to find this myself. Um, yeah, so it's in the. I think you can find it in the about section as well. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just going to do this. Let me see. Stand by, folks.
I found it. I found that it is in the about section.
Okay. Yeah, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put the link in the chat, just in case people haven't seen it yet.
Not unless I beat you to it.
Oh shit!
I did it.
You beat me to it. I was just about to hit the paste button, and I was like, "Oop, there it is."
Whoop, there it is.
Okay, so that's the Spreadshirt site where you can buy hats and hoodies and t-shirts, and I think there's long sleeve shirts and bags and piles of deer poop. I don't know. There's all sorts of stuff on there that you might like.
Ooh, I want a fluorescent hoodie.
I'm surprised you haven't actually gotten anything from there.
Yeah, I am too. We're gonna have to change that.
I think you might. Someone was asking me, not you, Laura, but someone was asking me about child-sized apparel, and I don't know how they do that. I've tried to go in and change what my page markets and sells, but I haven't had any success with that, so I don't actually know if you can do that.
Oh, I want to buy a child-sized shirt for Rainy.
Well, I knew you were going to say that, and so that's why I jumped out in front of it, because I know that it would be kind of cute to have like a bunch of 3-year-olds running around with my logo on their chest.
Yes.
But I haven't figured out how to make that generally marketable yet. So, we'll see. I suppose the big news that I would like to share with you is that in the last couple of days, I have started a Twitch account.
Oh!
I don't really know how often I'm going to use it, or I'm not even sure what I'm going to use it for, to be perfectly honest with you. But you can find me on Twitch. Same username, Roadway Wiz. I suspect I'll be doing some sort of off-the-wall content, you know, like the stuff that I wouldn't really be able to do on the channel necessarily, I'm going to be doing over there. So one of the things that I've started to kind of get into is like old video games and just chatting amongst other people. And I think what I would like to do is, in the next couple of months, I'm in the process of replacing my old computer with a new gaming system. And there's emulators you can download and all that other stuff. So I'd like to kind of turn this into the Twitch account, I'd like to turn into a general lounge where people can, you know, come and hang out and chat and watch me play like NFL Blitz and take people's heads off, you know, because that would be fun. You know, just something a little different, something that, again, I couldn't do on the channel per se, but I can do it on the Twitch account, so why not, you know?
I was thinking that you were going to say that you were going to start using Twitch for, I don't know, some sort of like live drive content, but you can already do that on YouTube.
Well,
So,
yeah, I probably would just do that on YouTube. I don't think I would take my live drive operation over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's again something I haven't completely worked out yet, but I do have the account set up already, and I do have the profile, so you can actually find me on Twitch right now and follow/subscribe if that's to your liking. And like I said, I'm going to try to get that page off the ground really in the next couple of months. Just to see what kind of content that I can produce on that and see, you know, how often I want to produce stuff and all that jazz. So that's the new platform that I've launched that you can be on the lookout for. Um, Speaking of what's next, winter trip is coming up fast. January and February. Um, I think the dates of it really depend on what's going on with me professionally. Once again, I'm in between projects right now, so but it's the middle of winter, so there's not generally a whole lot happening, at least in my neck of the woods. So I would expect that there will be a window somewhere in there where I can get away for a couple of weeks and I don't know, go someplace new. The thing is that if you follow me, well astute followers of my channel will know that I am actually running out of new places to visit. So if you know the places I haven't been to yet, that's probably more useful for you in this calculation than knowing the places that I have been to. That's just a little bit of a hint. We are continuing with the Season 4 of live programming, which is underway, as I'm sure you know by now. Again, a major objective for me in the next few months is getting the Twitch channel off the ground and running. And again, we'll see what kind of content I can put up there and how often and all that. We'll figure that out once. Really, I need the new computer here so I can start setting all that stuff up. So that'll be a nice little side project for me this winter, I think.
I just realized, once you're done in the U.S., are you going to start taking the Roadway Wiz channel international?
Roadway Wiz International. I could.
Yeah.
I think I told you that before the pandemic, I was looking into a trip out to Ireland that I was kind of scouting out.
Ooh,
and I realized that I could clinch the entire Irish motorway system in like 3 days. So that was something that I was thinking about, but it was 2019 when I was thinking about it, and then the pandemic happened, and then I lost all interest in it. But yeah, there's a lot of great spots in like Great Britain, Ireland, Scandinavia is another part of Europe I really want to get to someday. Yeah, you just never know. Like the year it's what, 2022 right now. I mean, 5 years ago I thought I would be done 5 years from now, but here I am, and now I'm saying, well, I'll be done. I really will be done 5 years from now, I promise. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll still be doing it 5, 10, 20 years from now. I'm going to need some new places to go, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Or go back and revisit old favorites.
Well, that might happen too, like especially in the urban areas as things change, So I'm already looking into revisiting certain cities that I've been to in past years. Like places like in Florida, like more stuff around the Gulf Coast. Stuff like that. Like eventually I'd even want to make it back to California at some point. So we'll see. There's no shortage of ideas. It won't be because I'm out of things to do. There will always be things to do. It'll just be a matter of whether I'm interested or not.
Yeah.
That's really what it'll come down to. Would you like to spend a moment examining the 2023 Road Meet calendar?
Yes.
Well, here it is on this slide. So we've got, let's see what I've got here. I've got 6 that have dates associated with them. Columbus, Omaha, Fresno, Grand Forks, Little Rock, and Buffalo. And then I've got these other ones down here at the bottom that have been mentioned as possibilities, but we don't have dates associated with them yet. I know that not a lot has been made about the 2 Maryland potentials, but I don't know. If you would like to say something about those, you certainly have the floor.
I would love to, yes. So I'd like to actually have Cumberland this year. The date that I had in mind, I actually am really glad I didn't, go through with formally announcing and creating a page on AA Roads and stuff for, because I found out that might not work for me. Because I was looking at August, but something else has come up. So maybe I will run that one in the fall. It's tricky because fall is a very busy time for me and my job, but maybe I just need to run with it in the fall. But the other one that we haven't really talked about before, Hartford County, Maryland. So I don't know if y'all know what I do for a living, but y'all know that I'm a town planner. And
you play with doughies all day.
So I'm a town planner. And I'm also on the steering committee for Hartford County's 250th anniversary celebration, which is in 2023. Yay! Because it was founded in 1773. So as part of that, so how this idea came about is that I was talking with the transportation planners at the county, and they were like, yeah, we'd love to do something that's related to the history of transportation in Hartford County, but, we don't really have, I don't know if we really have the time or energy to do that. And I was like, oh, I could do it.
Of course you said that.
Of course I did. So what I would like to do is I would like to do both a virtual tour, slash drive. In particular, what I'm focusing on is US 1 and US 40. Those are the two, historic highways that go through Hartford County, and that can cover not just the history of the road, but other like cultural touchstones. And also not too far off of Route 1 is Hartford County's Soul Covered Bridge, which is called the Jericho Covered Bridge between Hartford and Baltimore counties. But anyway, so I'd like to put together a virtual drive and webinar, as well as do an in-person meet. And the Historical Society is excited about it. So I'm curious what kind of crowd is going to come, how much of it is going to be like our people versus, locals. And I think it'll be really good. The key thing is picking a date.
So you think so you think this is going to be something that's marketed to the local community also?
Yes, it definitely is.
Okay.
It's something that I'm going to be marketing. Our big opening event is March for the 250, which is the events are going to go for like a year. The celebration is going to go for a year. But basically the opening is March 31st and April 1st. So it'll be sometime after that. The question is when. I think was initially looking at, late April, early May, but that's something you and I can talk more about offline. Of when a good time would be.
Yeah, you and I need to talk about conceptually what we want to do with the shows you're talking about also.
Yeah.
I will be down in the area next week, just saying, if you need somebody to film or photograph content for it, but we can talk about that.
Absolutely. Yep. Yes and yes.
Yep. It would be a pleasure to offer my services to you.
Yay, thank you. But yeah, I'm really excited because I think the cool thing about you, including me in, the Roadway Wiz, Roadway Wiz family is I do bring a different spin on content. And that's the kind of cool thing for me with 2022. It's, bring in some new, different content, some more planning content, more historical content in some of the episodes. And, looking to do this episode, on important roads in Hartford County.
Sure. Absolutely. So that's the Hartford County meet. And I think she's also mentioned the Cumberland meet. The Great and Powerful Sondor is hosting the Columbus meet. There's AJ's City meet at the end of April. There's Tom Fear from Gribble Nation, who is putting together a 2-day weekend out in the Fresno, Yosemite area of California. Brandon is looking to do North Dakota. Yeah, there aren't many meets out in North Dakota, so that's a little bit exotic. That sounds interesting.
Ooh. Are you thinking about that one?
It interests me because it's a new state. Right? It's one of the new states that I would need. So that's interesting. And then Cody's got Little Rock in June. I think that's Father's Day weekend, but I'm not 100% sure.
It is, yeah.
Okay. And who's the jackass who's hosting the meet in Buffalo? Well, actually, I'm glad you asked because that is yours truly.
Yay!
So, off of, let's see, we've done a 1-day meet in Wilmington. We've done a 2-day weekend thing in Philadelphia. So in 2023, at the end of July, I will be putting together a single day event in Buffalo on the Saturday. Basic idea is we do a pre-meet walking tour of some part of the city. We have lunch downtown. We do a driving tour around the city, and there's a ball game in the evening at the park downtown. So that's the basic gist of it. I have a lot more of it worked out already. I'm just not going to share all the details at this time. There is a what do you call it? There is a thread on the AA Roads forum in the Road Enthusiast meeting section about this event already, if you haven't already seen it. So I encourage you to go find that.
I'm super stoked about the Buffalo meet.
Absolutely. Well, it's where I went to college, so it's another one of these cities that for me I don't have to put a lot of work in.
Yes,
put something together.
I love these. Like Lynchburg for me was this is the city I went to college in meet.
Right.
And Buffalo is going to be that for you.
Yeah, we're kind of getting ideas off of each other, I think, which is really neat.
It is.
So that's Buffalo. Now, I've been talking with people, and we've been thinking about what we want to do on the channel.
You've been thinking? You know what I told you about thinking.
I've been thinking, young lady, about what shows we're going to do in January and February. So here are the 6 that I've definitely settled on. And I'm going to confirm with our group off air about the dates for these, but Laura, I think I sent you a list of dates that I think you're good with, so I think I'm gonna roll with.
Sweet.
And I will be putting up the links to these shows in their projected order, possibly as early as tonight or tomorrow. We'll have to see. The one thing that I am going to change is that Idaho is going to be done as a podcast. I have not told Mr. Potato Head that yet, but I'm sure he's going to be okay with it because he thinks that everything road related is delightful. So
it is.
Yeah, so I don't think he's going to care about that. So these 5 are going to be standard on YouTube in the month of January. And then the first weekend of February is going to be our Minneapolis-St. Paul online / virtual meet extravaganza for the year. So we'll have that to look forward to as well. That's going to be the weekend between Championship Sunday and Super Bowl weekend. So there won't be a whole lot going on that weekend, as far as I can tell at this point. So we should be able to get a few people together for that one. That should be fun.
Yeah.
And that's all I got. I would like to say thank you very much for helping to take a look back at the year 2022 that was. I certainly hope you enjoyed it. And looking forward to, I'm really excited to see what's coming up down the line in 2023. So hope you guys will join us for our next wave of live shows, which starts next week, New Year's Eve. We're doing our New Year's Eve show. We're taking the Wiz show on the road for the first time this season. It'll be live and in color from northeastern Maryland.
Yay!
So we thought we would do another Maryland-themed show, because we don't have enough Maryland friggin' shows in the library at this point.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. Yeah. It's funny how that works sometimes.
Yeah. The MD Roads crew might have a little something to do with that.
Maybe. We're also going to be celebrating 100 live episodes together.
Woo!
So I was actually counting, and I was like, yeah, we got to be close to 100, right? And I actually think that last week's Syracuse show might have been 100, but we'll celebrate it next week because we already had enough to talk about on that show as it was. So we'll celebrate with a bit more, bit larger in studio crowd next week.
Yes.
That should be fun.
Not to mention, we should celebrate. You now have 18,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I think I'm at that number now, aren't I? Something like that.
You are.
All right, well, that's good.
I just noticed that tonight.
Well, that makes one of us because I haven't noticed yet today. So I'm glad you're keeping track of these things. And yeah, so again, the meet that I'm hosting next July in Buffalo, July 29th is a Saturday. I hope you can join us for that. There is, as I said, there's more information about it on the AA Roads forum under Road Enthusiast Meetings. I do not have a Facebook page yet for this event, although that is something I'm going to work on in the coming weeks. Actually, that would be something useful to post in the chat. You know, the link to that.
Yeah.
Because you've already beaten me to it with other stuff, so...
You want me to do it?
Absolutely.
All right. Yay.
You're on a roll already.
I'm on a roll.
Yep. Oh, I actually remembered to mute the sound on the video this time. That's good. Rest of the time is yours. If you have anything you want to discuss with me about the channel, we can turn this into virtual office hours if you'd like. I'd say we have until like 7:30 or so local time if people want to air grievances. Today is Festivus after all. So
for the rest of us.
Yep. So, you know, if you guys have a lot of problems with other people, then, you know, now's a good time to air that out also. We're watching what was actually a video that I always forget about from my Denver Rockies trip, and that was when I was up in Montana. If you blink, you miss it, but this is I-115 in Montana, in the beautiful city of Butte, Montana. This was the farthest north that I made it on that trip in late May, early June. And I got to knock out another auxiliary interstate, although it's one of those that's over in a heartbeat. And I want to ask you, Laura.
Yes.
I don't know that you were planning to turn this into your office hours.
Oh, my office hour.
But how would you grade the live shows that we've done so far, like in the month of December?
December, it's so hard to grade. They've all just been on. They've been all on point. I'm a little biased, right? Because I loved the Birmingham show that you and I did together. But I think that Syracuse, as far as like the community effort, I think Syracuse was probably like, you know, peak so far this season.
Well, I said it to you guys shortly off the air when we wrapped up that my initial inkling was that was one of the best shows we'd ever done.
I agree.
And I haven't moved off of that. I'm sticking with that. I think that is valid. We've done great shows before. But I don't know that there are many that were better than that one. It's great when you can get people on camera and you can get them to be, you know, just candid and honest. And a lot of the times, you never really expect what people are going to say. You think you know. Like, I think that I know you guys pretty well at this point, but you know, there's a lot of stuff that was said last week that I'm still surprised by. That I was like, you know, I wasn't expecting you to come at it from that perspective, but I'm really glad that you did. You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that was really neat, and that's one of the reasons why I like having you guys on too. Other than the fact that I don't have to talk for 2.5 hours, I can just have you guys take over at times. But it's great when you can get people together who come from a variety of different backgrounds and variety of different professions too. You know, we have engineers, we have planners, we have people who are more like geared towards like historian type roles. Um, as I said, we have engineers, but we also have design engineers and we have construction engineers as well. Um, so, and of course, all of us are very well traveled ourselves. So, you know, we've been to a lot of these places that we do shows about. It's not just me. Um, so yeah, it's really a lot of fun.
It is.
We have a very diverse crowd, and it's always a pleasure to get together with you folks.
It really is. I loved the dialogue we had last week. Yeah, I think it's great to have so many different perspectives in the same room, and really to be able to flesh a lot of this stuff out.
Well, yeah, and the stuff that we flush out is the stuff that rarely gets talked about, I think. And
Yeah.
that's something else that I really appreciate about the work that we do is that we're not afraid to go certain places that most people don't want to go to. There's a certain level of I don't know what the right term for it is, but you know, we're certainly a bit brave in that respect because there's not a whole lot of discussion about road history in terms of, you know, planning and development and how it's impacted the history of cities and stuff like that. I think it's all really, so most of it is virgin territory on social media. Um, but you know, we've never really shied away from going there, and I think that that's great.
Yeah, at least in the more road-centric communities it is.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, like I said, I just feel like honored that y'all have stuck around because, you know, I feel like I'm the one in particular that's like, hey, let's go there. And we have this year, and it's just been really great to see that, you know, not just have people stuck around, but that, you know, that more people are subscribing. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, like I said, business is good, and it's certainly a good sign when you can, you know, there seem to be new people watching all the time, and more people are getting more out of these shows, and I think it's outstanding.
Really.
Yeah, so I really like having you guys being a part of this. And certainly, you know, you and I, Laura, have talked about the shows that are coming up in January already. A lot of interesting stuff to get into there. You know, Atlanta, Cleveland, Minneapolis is another one. I actually was just working on the PowerPoint for Minneapolis today.
We.
And it's actually just about done, if you can believe that. Um, yeah, there's a lot to dive into with history of, planning and alternatives and environmental issues and community rights organizations, especially in Minneapolis.
Ooh, yes.
I was looking into some stuff related to Austin, and you will be happy to know that there was a planning commission of some sort in Austin about 25 years ago, I want to say. Its acronym was CAMPO.
Ha!
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I won't get into why you think that's so cool on the air, but yeah.
I will.
I just wanted to tell you that. I thought you'd like
Yeah.
that.
For my viewers, my mentor's last name is actually Campo, so that's extra exciting. But yeah, no, yeah, I'll throw him a plug, because his work is really interesting. His name's Dr. Daniel Campo, and he's now the program director at Morgan State University for City and Regional Planning. And, you know, he was, gosh, when I was there, he was, you know, my lowly assistant professor, right? But he's become my mentor over the years, and yeah, so that's why I find that extra funny.
What a coincidence. But yeah, that was one of those things, and I'm like, huh, well, I know somebody who would appreciate that.
Me, I do.
We've been watching a video of I-70 across the Rockies and across the Continental Divide here. We just went through the Eisenhower Tunnel at the Continental Divide a couple of minutes ago. Um,
It's a tunnel.
it was a tunnel, yeah. Um,
That would excite Rainey.
I'm sure. Well, it would excite a lot of people because this is a badass drive.
Yes, it is. God,
Yeah.
the scenery is incredible.
Well, so a little bit of a story about this drive. So I was originally going to do this a day prior, but on June 1st, it was still snowing up here.
Wow.
So there's fresh powder on the trees. That's what you're looking at. There was actually a significant snow squall that hit this area the day prior. So I delayed my trip west by a day. And so it ended up working out beautifully because, the scenery's gorgeous all times of year, but there's something about crossing the Rockies with fresh snow on the hill, on the mountaintops and on the trees and all that. It's just really beautiful.
Yes.
Really, this whole drive of 70 from Denver all the way to its western end it's like 500 miles of nonstop, like America's greatest hits scenery. Like it's just like around every corner you find something else that's just really breathtaking.
I need to get out to Colorado.
Well, I think you do too, young lady, and you certainly, if you like scenic freeway drives, certainly that stretch of I-70 that I told you about is certainly worth your time.
Oh, yes. Well, now that Rainey is getting closer to the age of what I call rememberability.
That's an interesting term. Okay.
Yeah. Like, oh no. So, not that I would have been opposed to taking Rainey out to Colorado, but, time and finances are limited. And so, given the choice, I'd rather wait until she's old enough to remember it.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah, I get it.
So we're actually not too far from that point, which is hard to believe.
Right.
I mean, I made the reference earlier that, she's at the point where she might have her early traumatic memories, as I do from when I'm 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think that
Traumatic in the sense of of what happened. A first big fall is pretty traumatic for a 3-year-old.
yeah.
That's what I mean by traumatic.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But yeah. Whereas when she hits elementary school, she'll really start to remember, and yeah, we'll have to head out to Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think the first big trip that I took to Florida was when I was about 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I still remember parts of that one. So yeah, I'd say you're coming up on that window where you're gonna find that she'll remember stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. My first trip to Disney World was when I was 5, almost 6,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember it very vividly.
Yeah.
It also helps that I was obsessed with looking at the photo album over and over.
Well, that helps you remember too, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm just yeah, we're not far from that at all. She's 3.5.
I know. I still can't believe she's 3.5. Holy cow.
I can't either.
Oh my goodness. Would you like to watch a Lynchburg video?
Yes!
Like you're gonna say no to that. Well, actually, I was hoping that you could show more videos from Nebraska. Bleh.
I like Nebraska, but obviously it would not get the squeal like Lynchburg does.
Well, right, yeah.
Yay! We're on business 29!
This was a fun weekend trip for me. And it's currently in pole position for the furthest distance I've ever driven for a road meet.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't realize that.
Yep. So, but you could probably tell at this point, I don't really travel too far for meets. I'm not one of those people.
But
Um,
but also you're in the Northeast, so you don't have to travel too far.
yeah, that's
Because
true.
a lot of meets that happen are, in the Bosch Wash corridor. So
There's usually at least a couple up this way. Yeah. So that's how I fulfill my quota of 2 meets a year. Is just being lazy and not leaving the Northeast. Although I mean, in all honesty, that's where most of the more prominent road enthusiasts are, is in the Northeast. So I guess it makes sense if you think about it that way. Um, I mean, there's other meets too. There are other people living elsewhere too. It seems like that's the part of the country where there's the most concentration, anyway.
yeah, which makes sense population wise.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So this video was done during the Lynchburg weekend in June, which was a lot of fun. Um, it was a part of Virginia that I had never been to before. Um, like that general Lynchburg, Charlottesville, Roanoke area was open country to me that I'd never seen before. Still haven't made it down to Roanoke yet, but at least I've been by Charlottesville before, and now I've spent some decent time in Lynchburg. So,
Yay!
yep. And this is a fun road to drive too. Um, it's horrendously substandard and not modern at all, but that's what makes it so much fun.
Yes.
So, yeah, this was neat.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, Laura, you're gonna be hosting next week.
Yes.
How's the living room looking?
It's looking really good, actually. Thank you for asking.
You're gonna have to fit all of us in there somehow. So,
Oh, don't you worry. You'll all fit.
well, you gotta remember you gotta fit all of us, and then you gotta fit all the doughies too.
All the doughies and all the trains.
Yeah, that's another one.
Hmm. Yeah, I know, because our little road geek is also turning into a nice little transit geek.
She really is. Yeah, I saw her last weekend, and she's definitely taken a liking to the subway and the bus
Oh
and all
yes,
that. Yeah.
yes, it's really fun. I was thinking that I need to start getting her clinched on. Well, obviously, I need to get her clinched on, the Central Light Rail line and the Metro line, but also our major bus lines.
Hmm.
I think that she would, just absolutely love that.
Oh yeah. Well, she's just absolutely thrilled to go on the bus. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I can definitely see that. You know, you could just take her for a day and just ride the bus all day, and I'm sure she'd love it.
Oh, yes, she would. Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got two more videos I want to show you, and then we'll wrap up for the evening. I said I would keep this open until about 7:30, in case anybody has any questions, comments, anything they want to address with me. I mean, this is my channel, but also Laura's here too. So if you have anything that you want to ask her about, any Festivus grievances you'd like to air with either or both of us, any amazing compliments you want to provide to us, those are all welcome as well. So,
Especially the compliments.
yeah, I would prefer to get compliments. I'm not gonna lie. I do enjoy getting those more. Although sometimes it's fun to have people just be like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about," which I get those too every once in a while. Yeah, I know. You're 100% right. I don't know anything about what I'm talking about. I am an engineer after all, but That doesn't mean jack, right?
I've been told too that I'm not a very good planner.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how people operate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we're broadcasting live from the island of misfit engineers or something like that.
Rudolph is one of my favorite Christmas specials.
Oh yeah, that one goes all the way back to childhood for me too. You're talking about the claymation one?
Oh yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
good.
that one's a classic for me.
Yeah.
I would argue that the most underrated character in that whole show is the Abominable Snowman. Just that whole subplot that they create with that furry thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Because Laura, it's important to point out that Bumbles bounce.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is one of the two last videos I want to show you, and this is a drive north on I-35W in Minneapolis. Filmed in early July. As I said to Laura a short time ago, I've been working on the PowerPoint for that all week. Because it's really the only one that I hadn't started yet. And I was kind of like, I was looking at what it would take to put it together, and I realized that we were going to have this be the virtual meet, so it was going to be a super long PowerPoint, and I just, like, when I was thinking about the task ahead of me, I was like, okay. But no, it actually came together pretty quickly. I just uploaded a draft of it, in fact, to Dropbox, and I'll share you the link, Laura, off the air later.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's 100. What is it? It's 155 slides, I think.
155.
Yeah, something like that. Some crazy number like that. Well, Cleveland's.
You to say
So
101.
I already sent you the drafts for Atlanta and Cleveland also, and those. I think Atlanta is around 100.
101.
Something like that, yeah. And then Cleveland's like over 110. So like these are full shows that we're planning for these cities. And there's a lot to talk about anyway. There's a lot of freeways, and the thing that sets Cleveland and Twin Cities apart is that you have a lot of bridges to talk about also. So there's stuff related to that too that we have to incorporate in as well. But one of the things that makes Atlanta so long is that there's this pretty significant part of that PowerPoint that is devoted to the development of the MARTA transit system.
Yes.
Which I know is right up your alley.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's something that I'm sure you're gonna find interesting to look into.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing too, like when I was in the Twin Cities, it's interesting to see how culturally different Minneapolis and St. Paul are from each other. Even though on a clear day you can see the other cities downtown from the other. I think the downtowns are only 7 or 8 miles apart, and there's cultural differences between the two, not just with like societal things, but also like how each city developed their freeway system. If you look at the Twin Cities on a map, you'll notice that Minneapolis was basically just cut into pieces, as well as the suburbs. But St. Paul was much more measured, and the ones that they even did build took a long time to put together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like there's the 35E Parkway in the south of the city, which has an interesting story in its own right as far as community, community organization and environmental issues, and ultimately what they built on the south side of St. Paul on 35E is a compromise. It wasn't the original idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff, and it was just fun to relive some of these drives that I did back in early July. I mean, there's so many really cool urban drives in the Twin Cities. Like, and this one might be I guess I would put this one at the top of my list. you get the money shot of downtown right at the downtown interchange with I-94. It's just great. It's a great city if you like roads and you like history and all that other stuff. There's a lot here.
Yes.
I think it took me 2 or 3 full days just to cover everything, just in this metro area. It was there's just so much to get to.
Those skyline views are great.
Yeah, they really are. And so the thumbnail that I created for the virtual meet is from one of those pedestrian bridges above 35W, the back there.
Cool.
And it's there are a lot of great skyline views of both cities, not just Minneapolis, but both cities.
Yeah.
So it was hard to pick one. I was like, well, shit, I got to pick one. So that seemed to be the one that I kept coming back to the most.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's good to do these PowerPoints too because I have all the pictures already and I have all the video already, so it's easy to just, slot in the slides. But one of the things that I really like about having other people on these webinars is that I don't have to do all the research for the presentation.
Right.
I can just, subcontract it out to people. So,
like me, and because I write like 87,000 pages of notes.
Well, I won't lie. You do put a lot into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is good. I told you off the air not long ago that it actually makes me step up my game a bit because I can't have one of my guest presenters being more prepared for a show than me. And so that's just not acceptable. It's unacceptable. So I actually feel like it makes me more motivated to prepare also. And I think that's true. I think the first few shows that we've done in December, I think there have been subtle differences, but I do feel like I'm more, in control of things. I feel like, I'm more prepared for shows than I've ever been before, and I also think I've been enjoying them more. I think that's perhaps the most important thing.
Yes.
It's great to do shows with people when everybody's kind of in it together and everybody's preparing like it's this big important thing. There are people who will say, well, why do you put so much effort into these shows and why do you care so much? And it's like, well, if I don't care about them, then why should anybody else?
Right.
If I don't think that they're great and if I don't think that they're a big deal, then why should you feel that way?
Yeah.
So it's kind of an attitude that I've got that I really want to make the best shows that I can, and it certainly helps when you've got a great supporting cast who is willing to go along with that.
Well, thank you, and that means a lot to me. It's a very high compliment.
Well, you certainly deserve it, young lady. All right, I got one more video for you. And then we'll close up for the evening. Austin, Texas is a city that I've been... First of all, I have to be constantly reminded of the fact that I even went on this trip in February because it was sandwiched between 2 very memorable trips. One of them the month prior in Georgia and then the one in Colorado and the Mountain West a short time after. So this one kind of got lost in the weeds very quickly. The San Antonio leg of this trip, I've already uploaded the video of that, but Austin I have not. And I'm saving that. Well, it's not going to be in the next month or two. Maybe you'll start to see some stuff from this trip in February at this rate. We'll have to see how that works, but I've also been kind of plotting what we can do for a webinar show as far as this city is concerned, and I know that I've talked about it. I've talked about it with the group. off the air quite a bit lately, and there's a lot more that I want to bring up with you guys too. But every once in a while, and I'll tease what I'm thinking with you guys here live. Every once in a while, I get this idea where I say to myself, we should do something really unique and different with a show. We should just purposely go way too far with something and just like go completely nuts and try something that's completely out of our comfort zone. And I'm a big fan of music history and the Beatles in particular. And so there was something that they did that was way out of their comfort zone in early 1969 that I've been focused on quite a bit lately. And I'm like, what if we did something like that, where we just we did a show, but we did it in a way that was completely, it's like a new way of doing it, like a new way of not only doing a show, but also kind of showing people kind of what we're like behind the scenes and what it's like to really work together, so that we can demonstrate to the nice people who watch these shows, we're really not acting when we, talk to each other on live TV. We actually genuinely can't stand each other. But I was just kind of thinking, one of the things that I get asked about every once in a while is, it would be nice if you guys kind of showed us what you were really like behind the scenes. And for the first couple of years that people were saying that, I was kind of like, well, I think that's what you see is what you get. That's kind of what we are like. What you get on the webinars is what we're really like together, which is good. That's kind of what you want. But so taking that, but then I was thinking about it, and I'm like, well, we can kind of take this another step or two further, I think.
Yeah.
So I've in the words of The Grinch Stole Christmas, the Grinch got an idea. I have an idea. So I'm gonna work with you guys off the air for the next few weeks or so to see if we can hammer this out. What do you say to that?
I think that's great.
Every season there's got to be something crazy that we do. And I think that maybe that'll be our crazy thing.
Oh. I like it.
I like it too. And you know what? Last year we tried the whole idea of doing 2 shows in one day. So that was the crazy thing we tried last year. And so maybe this will be the crazy thing we try this year, Yeah. So but it would absolutely feature Austin. That's why I'm talking about it in this video. I singled out Austin for this show to get this particular treatment that I'm talking about. So
yeah. Doubleheader Day, yay, was really fun last year, although it was very long.
Yeah, it was very long. I think that I think the problem with that was that we tried to do a show in the evening that was much more intense than it should have been.
Mm.
I think that that's something that we should have done as the show of the day.
Yeah.
Because doing a show that heavy, after we've already had a long day as it was, I think that got to be a little too much.
Yeah.
But no regrets about the actual content that we produced, but it was just to present it was a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, nothing personal, Laura. I liked coming to your house and doing the shows and all that,
I know. I enjoyed it too, but we were all just dead at the end.
I think so. I think there were a couple people on the panel who were like, "Oh, thank God this is over." Jesus. Yep. But so that's yeah. So I think you and I are in agreement that we're not doing that again, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, so we'll see if we hate each other after this new idea. Although I don't know, I think that we might actually enjoy it quite a bit. Like I said, it's something that we've never tried before, and I know you'll enjoy it because you get to research more of Campo. So there
Yay!
you go.
Yeah.
So we've been watching this video of the northbound Loop 1 Mopac Expressway Express toll lane. And coming up here at Research Boulevard, US 183, you have one of the roughly 87 four-level stack interchanges in Austin, Texas. Like, when in doubt, just build a four-level stack interchange. It works. They do not mess around in Austin, that's for sure. But I would like to start to close up shop for this evening. I'd like to thank you all for joining us live for this year in review presentation. I would like to thank Laura for being here as well, for taking the hour and a half or so out of her life that she'll never get back to be here for this as well. So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, it was my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to seeing you and the guys and gals next week as well. It'll be a fun show. It'll be good to do that kind of a show next week, because there's not a whole lot of preparation that we have to do. It's just like, oh well, it's a virtual tour, so you just show up and it's like, all right, well, we're watching this highway, and it's like, okay, or whatever, sounds good to me. There's not a whole lot of effort that goes into those shows. So,
not to mention that the Maryland stuff, I already have a lot of the research in my head.
Well, yeah, right. And you have a husband who is basically, very useful in that regard too. So
yes,
yeah. So I don't think there's a lot of work that you have to do ahead of time either.
Right.
Yep. All right. Well, if nobody else has any questions or comments, I think we'll call this a night right here. Like I said, really happy to have all of you along for the ride in 2022. It's been a lot of fun this year with the new content. Really excited about the content that's going to be coming up in 23. All the standard videos, all the new cities and states I hope to get to, also all the new live shows that I'm looking to get to as well. There's new stuff right around the corner, and there's even some stuff coming up that I haven't really gotten into detail about here with Laura this evening that I just completely forgot to let you guys in on. But there's a lot coming up in the next, especially the next 3 months or so. I say this is going to be a pretty busy winter for me. But I'm really excited about what lies ahead, and hope that you guys will be along for the ride. It's great having you, and hope you'll stick around well into the new year. So,
yep, I don't know about you, but I really felt 2022. I just think it was an amazing year.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a great year all around, and
yeah.
I think next year will be even better than that.
Yeah.
So I hope you're feeling 23.
I
am. So yeah, once again, everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. We're gonna wrap this up here. So thank you all very much for watching, and we'll catch you next week. We'll catch you next time, and on the channel every day in between. So take care. Thanks. Happy travels, and all the best to you folks. Take care.
Good night, everyone.